Welcome to MA Lit Chat, where we talk about all things new adult literature. I'm Alicia Cat Vansel, and I'm super excited to be hosting NA Lit Chat for the first time, especially since we will be talking about engaging your audience through cosplay. Our guest tonight is the amazing Starla Jens, and our team lineup has EJ as our co-host, ST running, and Lindsay and Chris out in the Twitter. Um, For those of you who are joining our broadcast for the first time and have zero clue what NA is, we've got you covered. NA is much like young adult, but for a slightly older, more mature audience. The protagonists have reached their age of majority in their society and are venturing out into the world for the first time on their own. For some, this could mean going to college and having dorm life, or getting their first live-in boyfriend or roommate, or getting their first real-time job. But before we get into tonight's topic, we're going to go to our co-host, EJ. How's it going, EJ? EJ?
It's going well. I can hear you. Sorry, I've always got myself muted, so it's going great. Going great.
What's new in your creative world?
Oh God, I'm beta reading for somebody, and it's a middle grade story, which I haven't dove into that in a long time. So I'm kind of wading through that and trying to be as helpful. I used to write a lot of middle grade stuff. I have several dead middle grade manuscripts, and I used to read a lot of it, but it's been years since then, and now my voice is all new adulty, and I'm like, there's no raciness in here. But no, that's been great. And then I'm sort of just drafting out slowly but surely another story that I've been working on. So
awesome. Well, let's go to our see what good news we have out in our Twitterverse. We have.
Do you want to read it?
No, you can go ahead.
All right. S Skull Crusher Evans. What? At Usher Evans. There we go. I apologize, I butchered his name. My short story is number 38 on the Amazon bestseller list for sci-fi fantasy. That is fantastic. I know that it's funny because when they did out the whole name, like the Skull Crusher Evans, I didn't recognize it. But then I see the at Usher Evans, I'm like, oh yeah, I know who that is. So it's official. I now know your Twitter hashtags better than I know you. So. Dahlia Adler, Miss Dalai Lama, at Miss Dalai Lama, if you guys follow her on Twitter. She says, I have good news. I finally announced that my NA announced her NA release and revealed her cover this week. And she shared a link, so everybody hop over there and reshare that for her. Dahlia, I saw your name pop up on some very official article this week. Somebody recommended you as an author that they love, like an author that behaves very well and is well thought of by fans. So that's a good thing. D.A. Boda shared his good news. D.A. is a frequent chatter here. His good news just walked into new copies of EC 1 through 3. So I guess that's good news. St. Vende also has good news, and ST's doing the yeoman's work tonight of being our runner. So she's bringing tweets in from you guys and then sending stuff out from what we're talking about. But she says she just got followed by something called Good News 2014 just for tweeting out a call for good news. Who knew? Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. That happens all the time, by the way. Like, you tweet out something and they're like, oh, Dog Karma followed you.
Yeah, I tweeted about our chat tonight, and a cosplay thing followed me. I'm like,
very good.
Well, then. Okay, well, let's go to our special guest tonight, Starla. And do you have any good news for us? Anything new you're working on that's releasing that you want to talk about?
Yeah, like every 2 months I have something. But actually, what I just put up for pre-sale is my gender-flipped retelling of Snow White. It's the first in my flipped fairy tale series.
Ooh.
These are all standalone books. Shadows on Snow is up for pre-order over on Amazon now for only 99 cents, and the price is going to go up to $2.99 day after release. So people want that.
That's the one with the really pretty cover that has the apples in the tree?
Yes, I can tweet out the cover here.
It's on my pretty covers board.
Yeah, people really like to see that cover. And yeah, I've actually at this point I've got 6 planned for the series. I just finished the second one, and it's Jack and the Beanstalk, or rather Jacqueline and the Beanstalk. But Shadows on Snow is YA friendly, so it's clean. It's not specifically YA because the protagonists are actually like 18 and 19. So I guess sort of technically I can fudge it and call it NA.
It's non-explicit NA.
Yes, there's no language, there's no sexual content in it. Nothing like that. I just got the print proof today, and I gave it to my 12-year-old to read, so.
Ooh, shiny.
Yeah, she's very excited.
That's cool.
I would be.
She got a new phone and a book from her mom. Like that's
Well, I had to. This was actually my way of bribing her. When I got the edits back for Shadows on Snow, I told her that if she would watch the 4-year-old while I worked through the edits, that I would give her a print copy.
oh, fantastic.
I think that's a fair trade.
Totally a fair trade. So she's already started reading it. So.
I hope my future kids are that cool, because like mine are gonna be like, I'd rather have a PS4. I hate you. Like, I don't want your book. Like, I can just see it. That's good.
She was taking time out of her busy Minecraft and Pokemon schedule, so.
right. She squeezed you in.
She's like, I can schedule you between, catching them all and get
Mom, I don't have time for a beta this week. God.
Okay. Tonight's topic, now that we have heard everyone's awesome news, is cosplay. For those of you in our audience who are wondering what exactly is cosplay, here's the gist. Cosplay is a performance art which originated in Japan and is the shortened form of the words costumed play. It started as a small counterculture hobby and is now a worldwide phenomenon. It's basically when you dress up as a character from a book, movie, or TV show that you are a fan of. But as a clarification, promotional items are not necessarily cosplay. For example, wearing a t-shirt with your book name on it or title cover is not cosplay unless you are intentionally trying to be meta like the TV show Supernatural does from time to time. I myself am totally a cosplayer. In fact, I'm wearing cosplay of Shadowhunter from Cassandra Clare's Mortal Instrument series in my avatar. And Starla seems to be rocking the steampunk on hers. So
Yep.
I'm guessing you also cosplay.
I do. I have gone to I didn't get to go to Dragon Con this year, but I've been to Dragon Con for 4 years, and I go to Balticon almost every year. And every year I do at least one day in the steampunk getup. Actually, I went to Utopia this year, and and I wore a shirt with a cape on it.
Awesome. Let's see. So, our first question tonight to all of you peeps out there in the Twitterverse is, have you ever cosplayed? And if you have, what did you do it as? Any more good news?
Yeah, we have one more tweet come through. Jules.
Don't want to miss anyone.
At Jules of Triple R. I like that Twitter name. That's pretty cool. I have no idea what it means, but third book cover is done for series. Planning on 3-book release November 11th. If I don't have a breakdown first, yeah, I would say that's a three at once. That'd be amazing. I get it. Though.
I read that as the third book releasing 3 books.
Yeah,
wow.
I think that's the gist of it. So. Good luck, Jules. And honestly, I think I'm envious of authors that do that because I think it's kind of genius. But
yeah,
it's just a lot.
So while we're waiting for our tweets to come in from our audience, for those who are unfamiliar with the phenomenon that is cosplay, you're probably wondering, how on earth is dressing up going to help me engage with my readers? Since most of the live events I go to are anime or comic related, I am always in cosplay when I go. I'm a hardcore costume lover, and it offers me a fun way to interact with fans of other, that I'm also a fan of. For people who may not be as extroverted as me, it can also offer you a safe, kind of easy way to bridge that what do I say to people on the other side of my table. Um, uh, have either of you ever cosplayed at a live event, and how did it go?
Well, actually, I was going to address one of the points that you brought up there. You said you're very extroverted. I'm actually kind of the opposite. So for me, cosplay is that icebreaker. I'll just be, walking con floor or whatever, and I get a compliment on, oh, that's a really great corset. Where'd you get it? So I start talking, cosplay shop with this random person. And I'm not a person that I don't talk to strangers. Like at Utopia, how I'd mentioned before, I wore a Wonder Woman shirt with a cape on it, and when I was sitting there at my table selling books, it was a great icebreaker and something to talk to people about, and
Oh no.
everybody recognizes
Did we lose you, Starla?
No, can you hear me?
I can hear her. I can hear her just fine, Kat. Sorry. Can you hear me, Kat?
I can hear you fine. Yeah. Okay. No, it just dropped out for a second. I was like.
Okay. No, I got all that. I got all what
okay.
Okay.
I think it's interesting, Star, because that's what Kat and I actually, when we were discussing this week, we talked about that. Like, so cosplay can kind of be that buffer between. To kind of liberate you a little bit, like, and some people, like, it's because they're in full costume and nobody really knows who they are, and so they can sort of act out as somebody else. And
exactly, it's like a safe little shield between you and that thing you might not be so great or comfortable with.
Right, but what you were suggesting there as a just a talking point, and I think that's something too that we wanted to get into tonight. Is we've had some contemporary authors, basically say, well, how can I cosplay, or how can I use something like that to help me, because I don't do fantasy and all that stuff. What you just said is a perfect example. Wear something from your favorite property, and it will strike up conversations. People will ask you about it.
But you do want to actually wear something from something you're a fan of, not just something that's popular, because that's kind of the worst way you can go.
Right, because then people start testing you and asking you questions and stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's just dumb.
Like, who died in episode 3 of season 2 of Walking Dead?
Yeah. And as much as I hate that, it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, who was the 15th Doctor? You're like, if you don't know, you better not wear the damn bow tie.
There aren't 15.
I know. I was exaggerating to be colorful. Think of me as your color commentator.
Your color commentator. But actually, that was going to be one of the talking points towards the end, but we can jump into it now. A lot of you guys out there, and a lot of people who are writing in NA write contemporary. And so they might be like, well, how do I engage with my fans if I don't have, a fandom that I'm really, really like hardcore about? But I also want to participate. Things that you could do, like you could essentially dress from your character's world. You could either wear clothing that they would wear, a piece of jewelry or a fake tattoo that's important to the story, or you can even have table props that are related to your story.
Yeah, a lot of authors I know, excuse me, they'll have jewelry, like a little necklace that has a symbol from their book, something like that on there. I had another idea, because I know people were talking about this on Twitter earlier today, about how to use this like for their contemporary stuff. And something they could do that wouldn't require like a live event is have fans like dress up as these characters. Like, oh, have you seen a shirt that so and so character in the book might really like say this character's favorite color is pink or something like that, and they really like ruffles. So that's one way to get your fans involved in dressing your characters.
Yeah, you can either have like a place that they can send in things on, like your website, or a Pinterest board that they can post to, or tag items. And you can either use it just as a community builder or as a part of a contest or a giveaway.
Exactly.
Option. It gets them excited about your story in a way that isn't just buy my stuff, which is what we're all kind of here to learn how to engage our fans
and to me,
potential fans
too. Like, and I think this is such a trick to do, and there are many ways. And part of the reason is because there are many ways to do it. But any way you could get your story off the pages, like into other media forms. That's why we do book trailers. It's why we do all these things.
Fan art.
Yeah, fan art, any of that
Covers,
stuff. And
teasers.
cosplaying is definitely another way to do that, to get your books to exist outside of just their Kindles and, paperbacks and such.
Exactly. So that will bring us up to one of our other questions for the people out in Twitterverse tonight is, have you ever done cosplay from your own story world, or are you working on one? Can totally share pics and such. I have not done a cosplay of my story world, but I am actively working on one, which will hopefully be done for our costume party next week.
I actually sort of have. It was about a year before the book came out, but I had a steampunk come out in September, and she's a airship pirate is my main character.
Yeah.
And one of the steampunk costumes that I have is like an airship captain. It's got like the goggles and a scarf and a piratey kind of shirt and gadgets and stuff.
Did you base the character's outfit in the story on the cosplay, or did you get the cosplay for like a promotional
it was
thing?
kind of more. I build my costumes piece by piece because corsets especially are very expensive.
Oh yeah, they are hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, they're expensive. So yeah, I will look for something very specific. Like I knew I wanted something in brown leather that was kind of harness-y. So I have one. It's an underbust corset, and it kind of has a strap that comes up and around on the neck, and it's got all these buckles and everything, and it looks like something a pirate might wear. So yeah, I was very specific when I picked that particular corset because it reminded me a lot of my character Rachel Starling. So yeah, that's just one way that you could if you're going to do a book signing, you could dress up like that, and people would probably definitely notice.
Carla, I wanted to ask you because I know you do a lot of steampunk dress up, and I will say of all the cosplay out there, steampunk is some of my favorite because it's usually some of the most elaborate. Like it's
creative,
amazing, the detail and creative, like because there really aren't rules. And so I was just going to get I would love to hear your opinion on sort of just what the challenges are like doing steampunk, and maybe what's so great about trying to do the steampunk cosplay.
Well, I think what I find fascinating about steampunk is that it's basically like taking modern technology and saying, okay, how could we power that with steam? So everything ends up, much bulkier and with a lot of brass and gears, and just the aesthetic of it is so freaking cool. I fell in love with it just from the sheer aesthetic of it, because I'd gone to Maker Faire in San Mateo.
Maker Faire!
Yeah, it's awesome. And there's like a whole steampunk encampment that happens at Maker Faire, and just some amazing props these people have. Some of them are actually working props. Like there's a group of the League of Steam. They actually have working props. Like one of them will send this electric current through an entire group of people holding hands. So that was a cool demonstration. Not all props work. Probably the majority of them don't. The people that really, really put the time and effort into them will usually have them, be functional in some sort of way, but a lot of us are just not that mechanically inclined. It does take a lot of imagination to say, oh, well, my gun does this, and it channels aether from, the upper layers of the atmosphere and converts them into a laser beam. You can't see it, but it's magic, so... It's an interesting,
very convenient
exercise. Yeah, we had the magic wand. It's magic.
Right. It's there. Trust me. It's like the Force. Trust me. It finds us, guys.
Looks like someone said that they saw Mary Poppins talking to Spider-Man at the Disney D-Con.
The Disney D23 Con, it's sort of one of the new up and coming ones.
Well, I think ST's picture here, she's standing there with Thor. I think wasn't that what she was at the Universal Studios, or not Universal? It was
Disneyland.
Yeah,
right?
Disneyland. No, it's like Islands of Adventure or something. It's a Disney-owned company, but it's not Disney. It's a different theme park.
Oh, California Adventure Park.
It could be. I don't remember.
One of those other ones.
Oh, she
Yeah,
said stores at
yeah.
Disneyland. Okay.
Right.
Yes, because Disney buys everything awesome.
Well, and that's why D23 is blowing up. Like it's sort of
Yeah.
become this whole another type of Comic Con because they have all these. They have Star Wars. They have obviously Marvel comics, most of them.
Yep.
Um,
A
so yeah,
whole bunch
so
of cool.
I was curious from you ladies' perspective. So last week we talked about fan fiction.
Hmm.
Is cosplay, and we talked a lot about fan art, like kind of, we started talking about fan fiction, and then of course fan art came into it and then and this is just me thinking, I may be totally wrong, which I usually am if you listen to my wife, but I think these are all like sort of brothers and sisters, like fan art, fan fiction, cosplay. Like I feel like they're all kind of related.
Well,
Cosplay
they're all homages to things that people just really, really love a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what they all have in common.
Yeah. Cosplay is like the performance art version of fan fiction or fan art. Like, some of the time, like, you don't just get people who are dressing up as a specific character. They might just be dressing up as a character in a certain world, like a student at Hogwarts, or a shadow hunter, or a soul reaper, or any of those other things. You don't necessarily have to be a specific character as long as you're like in the same setting.
Right, and then that's what a lot of steampunk is. People will actually come up with their own personas, and they may draw from different properties within the steampunk genre kind of have different rules. Like some will incorporate magic, some are strictly science and machines. So they may come up with entire personas based on a specific property or in some universe that they've even created. So it's really, it could really go either way.
Yeah. Anything else, CJ? Okay.
I'm tweeting. Don't go back to me.
Sorry.
I need like a little flag or something I could shoot up. I'm tweeting.
We have multifunctional cosplay. My cosplay cargo pants hold lots and lots of business cards. Yeah, I actually, that's my favorite feature when I do my Katniss Everdeen cosplay, is that my cargo pants have lots of pockets to put things in. And essentially, the other great thing about cosplay is you can have like backpacks or bags or other things that are actually part of the costume to hold your items.
Actually, my last purse, I picked it specifically because it would match with my steampunk gear and I wouldn't have to change purses.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how I know you're nerdy? Yeah. When you start buying your clothes based upon your cosplay options, you're like, oh, I could.
That's important. If you have ever been to somewhere like Dragon Con, you do not want to be running back up to your room every 5 minutes because you forgot something.
Well, I'll say too that I think it's a
that
beautiful
elevator
thing
line
about.
at cons can be like an hour long.
Yeah, no.
It's a beautiful thing about cosplayers and just the whole premise of it, because there is a lot of recycling involved with it. Like, there's a lot of repurposing of things that other people maybe don't find useful or whatever. I was curious, you two, like, what's the weirdest like length you've gone to find something? Like browse Goodwill to your fingers bled. Like, what's like the most extreme length you've gone to find like
sewing things is scary. The fact that I have done this on multiple occasions. Yeah, me sewing things. Me and my sewing machine. We have a general truce where usually it's just my husband sewing patches and stuff onto his uniform, but then I will occasionally do things like bring tulle and and satin and stuff to the machine, and it's just all the no, what are you doing? It's
trying to
I just have this mental image of Starla like sitting at a sewing machine with like a spotlight on her and like a bottle of whiskey next to her. Like,
that's about right. Yeah,
like, but it's one of those old school ones with like the will, like you're like pumping the will at your sewing or something.
I think the weirdest thing I ever had was the when they released the last Lord of the Rings movie. I made an Arwen costume, I made the black mourning dress costume, and I had to have bolts of fabric. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a bolt that's like 60 inches long.
Yeah.
Shipped from Manhattan to California during December Christmas time so I could make a costume. And I stayed up all night. I also had finals at the exact time. And I made not only costume for myself, but for all of my friends. And we went to the movie in costume because we're nerds. Um, yeah.
Meet me on Twitter.
But
Oh, well, I'm just watching the Twitter feed. People are laughing at me, my purse things. It's like the struggle is real, people.
yeah, no, like I had to come up with last minute cosplay for an event I went to, because the tail and ears I had ordered were not like got delayed in shipping. And so I was like, what do I own and what can I make in 5 minutes? Because my husband is coming to pick us up so that we can leave in like 2 hours. Um, and I found out that they make a printable temporary tattoo paper.
Oh, nice.
And I just downloaded actually the runes that you see me wearing in my my Shadowhunter cosplay. The movie company that made the Mortal Instruments City of Bones movie was kind enough to put the rune sheets that they used online so that people who were fans could download them and then print them out and wear them.
That's very cool.
Let me ask you guys something as authors and get this sort of back to bookish stuff. How insane would it be? Like, should we, when we were sort of designing our characters and, plotting out these books and such, is it insane to say, I need to throw a little something in there that would be easy to use as like a marketing whatever, like, maybe it's a tattoo, like Kat was saying, like maybe a tattoo on a character.
I think it's very strategic.
Or a necklace, or and I'm not saying like you're like setting up like a Pepsi can, not that kind of marketing, but oh, I want subliminal, like I want you to see a jade necklace every time you think of me.
Well, for my superhero series, it was kind of easy because the Angel Project, I actually designed a logo for that. It was my Twitter profile for a while, but yeah, so it's this shiny silver A, and I included at the very beginning of the first book in the series, and it wasn't really intentional, but as soon as I wrote it, I'm like, oh, that's my thing. I'm going to use that. So yeah, I don't know if it would work for every single book, but I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that wouldn't have some kind of symbol or something that you couldn't pull out to use as
yeah, there
for
has
like
to,
this. Yeah.
like I think the easier you make it for people to participate, the better you're going to do with fan engagement. Like the easier you make it for them to come and play along with you.
Right.
Yeah, like I've seen some authors who go so far as like to have, downloadables, like they have character sheets or, Pinterest boards that have items their character would wear, or they have like instructions on how to make, essentially a proper, some article of clothing that their character would wear. These are, kind of like extra little goodies you can put on your website or in your newsletter for your fans to be able to participate along with you.
Right.
I like that idea, actually, like to put a sort of, gosh, what was that site, Amy? We had a discussion one night on fashion and all these things, and I signed up for this stupid site. I don't mean to dog the site, like people love it.
Have that one where you make the little things.
Right, like you basically like make costumes and stuff. I bet I can find a link to it.
I can't remember. It starts with a P, I think.
Polyvore.
Yeah,
Polyvore. Yes, Polyvore. So I still get Polyvore emails like all the time. People friend me on Polyvore. I'm like, I used it one night.
Yeah,
In a fit of insanity. But no, I love that idea, actually, like to put something together like via Polyvore or whatever, and then share that via your newsletter or whatever, and say, hey, I'm going to be out here signing. If anybody wants to dress up in costume, I'll give you candy or something.
Yeah, I'm actually constructing some horns for the daemons in my universe, and it's literally made out of a cardboard soda box and hot glue and paint. And it looks, it's really easy to make. I found a tutorial online, and when I am done with it, I'm going to post it so that people can also make them.
That's very cool. I have people asking me, should probably do a video or something, but for the first book in my superhero series, I made little mini book necklaces out of polymer clay, and I was using those as kind of swag items, but they're also advertisement for me because
Hmm.
they're really cute and they're really super pretty.
I
And
make
people
mini book.
actually wear them, yeah. And so yeah, that's I guess that's that's not so much cosplay as just another marketing swag
Yeah,
item.
it's more like unless you're intentionally trying to be meta, like in the TV show Supernatural, like in canon, they have a book series based on their lives and their own fan convention and stuff that crops up. So like you could literally dress up as them cosplaying them, and that would still count. Like, and they do that in anime too. Like,
Yeah, I just got a nosebleed from listening to that.
well, it's basic. Yeah, it's they get it. They get their fan base. They have a rabid fan base.
Well, it's kind of like the Tales of the Beetle Bard in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
there's that book that's mentioned in there, and fans have taken it out of there. And I mean, now it's an actual book. But yeah, at the time,
Yeah,
yeah, it was
it's
people wearing the little Deathly Hallows necklaces and everything.
So I know it's on the agenda, but Twitter's really into it right now, so I wanted to get you guys to kind of throw
yes.
it out and talk about it. So everybody's mentioning like Pinterest, like they're LK Lewis said that uh, basically that using Pinterest and YouTube's are great for finding cosplay ideas and tutorials. We had
Exactly.
another tweet rolled through here just a second ago from Jules of Triple R, which I love, again, that Twitter name. I started a Pinterest board for my novels, love the idea, and it's a great way to waste time and stay sane. But I know a lot of people use Pinterest and all these things, so what do you guys use to
Pinterest.
get the ideas out and to bring them in?
I have not only a board for each project I work on. I have one that's literally just fandom stuff of things I'm a fan of, and I have another one that's either cosplay ideas, but also has tutorials on like how do you fix your damaged wig, how do you make styrofoam armor, so that people, who are looking for those things go, oh, look, I can just go to Cat's board and download that thing she mentioned at that event.
I'm a terrible Pinterest or pinner, whatever you call it. Like
Pinner.
I have boards there and I have some stuff there, but I always forget it. So like every few months I'll go on like a pinning spree, usually with book covers. But yeah, I'm not a good pinner. I'm terrible at it.
I get it. Like I already had that kind of collecting of image tendencies, but now I just have a nice way that I can like catalog them as opposed to random folders on my hard drive.
Well, I love what ST's doing too. She mentioned that she's got a Pinterest wedding board from one of her characters' sort of point of view or whatever. So, like, one of her characters compiled this Pinterest board, and it's not from the bride. Spoiler alert, she says. So, I think that's cool though. Like, I think you can
Yeah.
set that up. Like, have your characters be like, if you want to be like me.
Well, it's like when people have Twitter accounts for their characters. It's, another way of interacting. If your character essentially lives in our universe, would they totally have a Pinterest board and what would they post on it? These are kind of online ways that you can interact via kind of cosplay with your not live event viewers.
Right. Well, I think I do. I have a board somewhere for some stuff related to my superheroes. I don't even remember exactly what it is now. Because I don't think there was much on there, but I have done it specifically because a friend of mine would say, "Oh, here's this thing. I think this would be really great for such and such character." So I'll add it then. But like I said, I'm really bad at Pinterest, so I just kind of just keep all these things in my head, and I don't like write them down or anything.
I flip through them like on my phone while I don't know, cooking or watching television. There's commercials, and I'm like, oh, my character would totally wear that, and I'll pin that. Or, oh, that's what this looks like. And at the same time, I'm also going, oh, that's an awesome Doctor Who cosplay. Or, oh, I like that, Thor.
So I was gonna ask, like, how much do you guys, when you go out and you see other cosplayers, how much do you like? Is that kosher in the cosplay universe? Can you steal ideas? Can you be like, oh, I want to do that, or
Yeah, as long as you execute it differently or better. I mean,
Put your own spin on it.
yeah. Like I've seen people who not only do like, so say you have the Disney princesses and somebody does a piece of fan art where they're all wearing battle armor, and then somebody turns around and does a cosplay of that battle armor, and then somebody turns around and turns that into something else, you know. There's no,
Right.
oh, you stole the idea from me.
Well, and I've also found a lot of cosplayers are completely open to sharing tips on how they created some stuff. Like I was asking about, because I want to do a steampunk absinthe fairy, and I've got a bunch of the pieces, but I haven't been able to find wings that I like. So at Dragon Con, not this year, but last year, I was actually asking another person who makes stuff, if they had any tips for like.
Yeah, most
things like that.
cosplayers
They're
are really
very
awesome.
keen to share how they do things and everything. So.
Yeah, I ran into a girl at one event and I was like, "Oh, I really love your horns. How do you sell those?" And if they say no, then I ask them how they make them. Because if they make them and they're selling them, I'll just buy it from them.
Right.
But she
Much
actually
easier.
let me record her explaining how to make them,
Oh,
essentially,
that's nice.
on
Yeah,
my
a
phone.
lot of them are just they're really excited about what they do. So when you start asking them questions, they are usually more than happy to answer. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, like any community, there are a few that are tight-lipped on what they do and
bad
everything.
apples.
Yeah, but most of them are very friendly and very open with their methods, and like it's another way to break the ice and ask and talk to people, which is
Yeah.
what I'm always looking for.
Yeah, I mean, like, I tell people that they can come by and, like, nerd out with me about a whole list of things, and they will. Like, I get to interact with people who are fans of different things, and they become really good friends of mine. Like, half my readership, I think, are, con goers, it seems, as well.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, and I think that's really interesting what Kat does. Like I love that. Like you go to cons, like not just book events. And
I
Kat's
actually don't go to book events.
right, and that's I think that's really genius because you know who your audience is and you're really directly marketing to them, and
Yeah,
not in like buy my book kind of way. You're at cons, like you're a fan of whatever's going on there, just like they are, but you
yeah,
just happen to write books, and
yeah.
I think that's a brilliant way to market,
Yeah,
especially for
if
people like
I
me that
didn't write
hate
books, I'd still go.
hate
Um,
marketing ourselves. Like I think that's fantastic because I mean like I could go to a Walking Dead convention and shoot the crap all day long with the
Well, there's
people
a
that are
lot of authors that go to these other conventions as well, Comic
right,
Cons, and all these
yeah,
these other different like genres of cons. They all have
right,
authors that are usually local. Sometimes they'll bring in like a guest of honor that writes. Say it's a Walking Dead convention, they'll bring in an author that writes zombie stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, or they'll buy a table and they'll be selling. But I can guarantee you, at any convention that you go to, that's like one of these fan-based things, there will be people there selling books.
yeah. It's actually a lower amount than you would think. Like you'd think, sure, of course, they want to interact with their fan. Like, but most of the events I go to, there's like two of us that are authors.
what
Me and the
what do
girl
you
who writes
guys
yaoi fiction, pretty
you better
much.
you better explain what yaoi fiction is because nobody's gonna
Oh,
I think I know what
yaoi
that is,
is
but go
yaoi
ahead.
fiction is either written or like graphic novels that have predominantly male gay characters as the leads. It's romance between two male characters. There you go. There is a female version. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I'm a terrible person.
Oh, I used to know that one too, and now I don't remember it either.
Yeah, I can't remember it. Um, let's see. Is there anything?
and these are that's just proof to me that I mean in this age in day and
There's
age like
fandom for
there's a
everything.
genre for everything.
Oh yeah,
You're interested in writing it, just write it. Like and go and if you're willing to search out and find the people that enjoy it, they're out there. They exist. I promise you. I don't care
yep.
what it is. They exist.
Yeah,
So what do,
it's
what do you guys think? I'm curious about this. What do you think about so now like professional cosplayers? It's a huge thing. Like there are I follow
yeah.
at least 4 different people on Facebook that's all they do. They have hundreds of thousands of fans on Facebook
Hmm.
and they just go around and I guess they get sponsorship now and they get paid to cosplay and things. So I wonder what you guys thought about that, and I also wondered, have you guys ever considered like like for authors out there maybe that don't want to dress up, would you consider paying a model or somebody to dress up as a character as your book?
Actually, my steampunk series, I'll be releasing the second book next year. Probably Talk Like a Pirate Day again, but I have a model already lined up for the cover of that one, and hopefully she can go to Utopia next year. And I'm planning on steampunking her out because she's actually the same size as me. And since she's going to be my cover model, I was hoping she would be my booth babe too. So that's just so happens that she's a friend of mine, that it works out that way. But I know a lot of authors that bring their cover models with them to book conventions, and have them standing there in their booths, and their fans come and take pictures with these models, these guys that were on these covers, or these women that were on these covers. And it's another way to bring in people to your tables to sell them your wares and introduce them to your work.
Yeah, if your cover model is wearing essentially something your character would wear, that's cosplay. They're the lovely Thor that is standing in ST's picture, that's technically cosplay. I mean, he happens to work for Disney, but
That's professional cosplay.
yeah, that is a form of professional cosplay. I support anything where you can get paid to do something you love.
Right.
So to answer EJ's question about paid cosplayers, I have friends who compete all over the United States in cosplay competitions. They make these epic costumes, and they go to various different events, and they compete, just like you would any other sport or competition.
There's also
even like a TV show.
Yeah, Heroes of Cosplay. There is a bit of controversy surrounding that because a lot of cons anymore, they're trying to put two different categories, the amateur cosplayers versus instead of the separate from the professional cosplayers, just because these people that also love what they do but maybe are just starting out, they don't really have a chance to compete at all or even to win, and to get recognition for the hard work that they have done. And they're just on a different level, right? So yeah, I know there's a bit of that going on, and I mean there's drama in anything you can think of, any kind of.
I think they should have it split up the same way that they do art shows, where they have essentially amateur, junior, and professional.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know a lot of conventions don't have that yet, and I know there's been a big movement, especially this past year, to separate those things out. Especially there was a lot of stuff that I saw with Heroes of Cosplay. People were kind of unhappy with.
I don't actually watch the show because I don't have to.
Well, I've never seen it, but I did follow a lot of the discussion on it just because I found it interesting. That there was. When the show would come in, essentially these professional cosplayers that were on the show were more or less ringers, and there wasn't a chance they were going to lose. So that's especially when you're talking about things like smaller local conventions where it's local people doing something they really love and not necessarily going to get money out of it. This TV show with this platoon of professional cosplayers swoops in, and it kind of takes the fun out of it for a lot of people participating.
It's not supposed to be about being better than other people. It's supposed to be about communal enjoyment of a thing.
Right.
Someone in the Twitterverse, DA, just said, I think cosplay and Comic-Cons are just more proof that nerds have finally taken over the world. Thank the gods.
I don't disagree with that. Like, I've read several articles about that. Sorry, my dog's squeaking her toy. Stop it! Stop.
That's okay. My cat was clawing the wall earlier.
Right. Anyways, as far as random Twitter or noises we'll have on the show, there's one for you: squeaky toys. I think it's awesome. Actually, I've seen several articles recently about how sort of geeks have inherited the earth finally.
Yeah.
And I think there's some truth to that. Like, you see how many comic book shows are on TV now, whether they're adapted from like Walking Dead, that are adapted from graphic novels, or just straight up comic book properties like Arrow and Flash and all those things. It's pretty clear this is the universe now. Like, people love it. Like,
or they're adapted from books, like the Vampire Diaries or the 100.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, my basic theory is that the world is an increasingly crappier place, and so like we're all sort of hiding away in fantasy, which is to me is not a bad thing. I think that we've done that throughout the ages. If you look back through history.
Yeah, we just, more inclined to have superheroes than,
Right.
Well,
Dragon
and
Slayer.
actually, because I've been watching Arrow and The Flash, I would actually, The Flash definitely, but even the Arrow could be placed in the new adult category.
Oh yeah, lots of the TV shows that are on are actually like they'll market them as teen, but they're in college.
Everything on the WB is new adult. Like
Pretty much.
I mean,
Yeah,
seriously, like
pretty
you can almost
much.
rebrand that as the new adult network because
I
agree
love the
totally, like,
WB.
Flash, Arrow,
That's CW, though.
100,
Is that the same
or
thing?
CW.
Yeah, it needs to be the WB.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I only
so
watch superhero shows.
yeah, you have the 100's kind of in between. Vampire
There's a little bit of
Diaries, Supernatural.
I saw a clip of the 100 where a dude just got
right.
like some sort of ninja star to his face. So that's not YA. Like it like cut his head in half. That
Yeah.
show's pretty dark. That show's pretty dark.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to think of, I guess it would be new adult because they just dumped a bunch of kids on a planet by themselves.
I apologize for not knowing my networks. I watch everything on Hulu. So, like, it's really just kind of like
confused. I was confused for a
It
second.
was the WB and now it's the CW.
right. And I'm 1,000 years old, so I call I'm like, oh, did you guys watch the movie channel back in the day?
The what?
The movie channel. You guys, you don't even remember the movie channel, Kat? Come on.
No, well, like, I don't know, maybe we had it. I didn't actively, like, go, oh, what's on this channel? I'm just kind of be like, oh, this doesn't
It was
suck.
one of the pay channels called the movie channel. It was
Oh,
like one of
then-
the first ones. It was like them and Skinamax were like the first two.
Oh, I never had them.
Well, that's what they were.
Okay.
What's next on your agenda?
Wow.
I'm trying
Now
to
that I'm
see what we haven't covered yet.
Now that I just drove our train off the rails with Skinamax.
Did we have any tweets from people we didn't read?
I don't know. Great lines from Twitter. I think you read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that one.
Sorry. I was too busy trying to shush my dog from squeaking her toy.
I'm
The
trying-
new Avengers trailer? Oh my God! Is it 2015 yet?
I didn't
Sorry.
see it yet. I didn't.
Someone else is tweeting about that in the feeds.
I didn't see it yet.
So actually, that's
But I am. I
that's
would
my
like.
mind
Kind of,
earlier.
I am currently wearing a Batman T-shirt.
Right.
I've
I'm
got
just
a comic
pretty glad.
Yesterday was Iron Man.
I'm pretty glad they don't destroy that franchise with this whole Ben Affleck, whatever it is they're doing. But
I don't just don't understand why they're making another one. I mean,
God.
didn't they just finished the
I know. And God, I feel like Superman needed his own spotlight for a little bit, you know? Like, don't just throw him in with
I'm
Batman.
so tired of Batman and Superman. The only reason I would go see Batman versus Superman is because Wonder Woman is going to be in it. Only
Yes.
reason, full stop.
And that's a whole thing too. Like people are just in an uproar about how Wonder Woman looks in this thing. Like they're told it's a Gail Cat.
If she can pull off the performance and if the script doesn't suck, I don't care.
I agree. I don't think it'll matter either. But I also agree too that I'm kind of tired of Batman and Superman. That's why I love Arrow and
So
Flash.
over
They're so fresh. Like Flash.
Yeah, I'm
We've really
more of
done
an
that.
Avengers fan.
Well,
Yeah, I'm always been more of a Marvel girl, X-Men,
Yeah.
Cloak and Dagger, and the Avengers and everything, and yeah, so I'm really excited to see Marvel doing such great movies, and so many of them. Oh my gosh, so
right.
I can't wait.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys. So,
Okay.
yeah, what do you think the hot properties? Because I think that's part of cosplay, right? Like, is sort of being. Now, there's also always the retro factor. Like, if you can dress up as like 1978 Wolverine or whatever, like it's great.
Those are some of the best
What-
ones.
what is
It's like wearing a throwback jersey.
Right, it is totally the geek version of a throwback jersey. It totally is. You're like, oh, I'm Frank Miller, Batman.
And you can
But-
totally do that.
Right, you
I'm
can't.
be like,
but what do you,
I'm
what do you guys
Batman
see
from
right
this.
now? Like, is Hunger Games kind of dominating? Like, that's what I imagine is really popular in cosplay right now. But like, what's the hot?
Actually, no. And you want to know why? You're not allowed to have a strung bow at any convention in the state of California.
Well, clearly Katniss would never go for that.
It'd be hard to
because-
despawn a bow and arrow. So
No, it's not. It's not because the way they write projectile laws in a lot of city charters and stuff. So like I have a Katniss costume. I have a real bow. It's unstrung in its, quiver because I can't walk around with it. So I essentially discontinued wearing that costume. Um, and switched to some other ones that, like, I switched to, because I'm behind a table, having things that have most of the interesting stuff essentially from the waist up, because they're not going to see like me standing up a whole lot of the time. That's another thing to think of if you're behind a table at an event, is will they be able to see what you're wearing and understand what it is if you're not standing up?
Hats are really good for that. I have a couple of hats that have interest. I like have my one obnoxious hat, so one of my steampunk things, that it's got a bunch of little vials. It's kind of like a sun hat that I put a bunch of fabric on and everything, but it's got a leather band around it that's got little clear glass vials that I can put different things in and everything, and it's big, but it definitely it definitely catches attention. I got my obnoxious hat.
Yeah, I just did a Holo the Wise Wolf cosplay, which is actually from a Japanese novel that was like a Japanese new adult novel that was turned into an anime that was turned into a manga that was turned into a light novel. Because that makes sense. And the reason I chose it is you can clearly tell what it is because it has nice little wolf ears, and you can tell, and it has its own props that come with it. I just have a few apples on the table, and I have my ears, and I have my little pouch necklace, and everyone knows what it is, and it's super comfortable because I get to wear jeggings and a t-shirt like this thing. And they're like,
such a dumb
best costume ever.
So what you're saying to me is that I'm pretty safe with my PETA costume because I'll be carrying a cake and some like oil paints around with me. So
yeah, that's the thing you want to
totally
think about when doing cosplay, is to make sure it's something you can walk around in all day if you're going to be walking. You don't want to be the girl with the high heels that's limping about an hour in.
Then you just look like a
girl that sucks.
You just look like a beat up prostitute. Let's just be honest. You're like lipping around the floor in a half torn dress.
Yeah, another thing is to remember what time of year it is, because there's nothing worse than it being the middle of June and you are wearing something intended for the dead of winter. I have done this. It's not fun.
Yeah, oh, that's the problem with a lot of steampunk costumes, is that especially with, guys' costumes, my husband doesn't really like to do it too much because it usually involves heavy coats and long sleeve shirts and pants and boots, and it's really, really hot, especially if you're going to Dragon Con, which is Labor Day weekend.
In Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta.
God. Oh my God.
Comic-Con, which is in July.
The good news is you'll lose 35 pounds. The bad news
stroke is what that is right there.
Right, you'll dehydrate and die. That's the bad news.
Yeah, so that's one thing to think about, is what are the conditions that you're going to have to deal with. If you're going to have a costume that has lots of pieces, will you be able to set up your booth or your table wearing it, or do you need to remember to bring a different set of clothes? To where to set up and then change.
Conversely to the make sure it's something you can walk around in, also make sure it's something you can sit in.
Yes.
Boob skirts are difficult. They
unless you bring a backless chair.
Yeah, they take some... I've figured it out over the years and lots of practice how to kind of angle the hoops so I can sit and not flash the world.
Wear pants like panelettes.
Yeah. Well, I usually wear shorts underneath and stuff too, but some kind of bloomers. But yeah, the hoop skirts are difficult, and I've seen a lot of costumes. Like one of my friends did. What's her name? From Wreck-It Ralph. The
Penelope.
Yeah. The blonde with the soldier. Yeah.
I know who played it, did the voice of her.
Right, she's in Glee and everything too. But yeah, but she did that costume, this huge set of black armor with the huge gun, and yeah. So she spent all her time basically standing in one place in a hall because the pictures were nonstop. I mean, every time I walked through this hallway, she was there, standing there with her gun, and she couldn't really do anything else. One, because of all the people taking pictures, and two, because it was just difficult to move around in.
Yeah, that's one of the dangers of doing an awesome cosplay, is being able to go anywhere. when I used to do like Renaissance fairs, the Dickens Fair, I had one of those costumes that was not only very large, but very recognizable. And the only way for me to get across the essentially fair was to go backstage.
Mhm.
I couldn't even buy my own food at lunchtime because I couldn't get through the line.
Yeah, you don't want to be the Team P person. Like, you don't want to be the you don't want to be the bride where you're like, I need 14 people to come hold my thing up while I.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was just everyone be like every 5 seconds. Oh, can I have your photo?
Right.
Can I have your photo? And you're like,
Yeah.
sure. I wasn't going to eat this.
So we have just about 5 minutes left. I was curious.
Running
what
high
you
fives.
guys-
Running high fives.
Running
Oh,
high
running high
fives.
fives. Where's Carrie
Okay.
Butler? I was curious to know what you guys, your tips. We talked a little bit about table, like setting up a table at an event. What are your best, like for people that don't want to dress up? Are there ways that you can kind of do some prop play, some elements of cosplay? Do that?
So,
How would you do it?
well, for Utopia this year, I had my Wonder Woman T-shirt with a cape on it, and people like to take pictures of that. My capes had socks on them too. It was awesome. But my table, I did a whole superhero theme, even though not all of my books are superheroes. Just the ones that I was really pushing at the time are. But I did a table skirt that had pow and bam and these little comic book action words all scattered all over the table. And then I had a bunch of Avengers stickers out there. I had M&Ms with little sayings from my book on it. And because you can get personalized M&Ms.
Yep.
Those were the big hit. Yeah, everything that I could find that was cheap and related tied into my books. Actually, something I am thinking of adding for the next event I want to get a cardboard stand-up of Tom Hiddleston. If for no other reason, just to get people to stop and take a picture with him.
Oh yeah,
I can only find Loki right now. I can't find just plain Tom Hiddleston, but I'm willing to settle for Loki. So
it's a superhero or supervillain. Yeah, actually, the booth across from me at an event had a giant 6-foot-tall stuffed squid that you could take a photo with. Promote their convention, and I was just like, this is the best thing ever because I just get to watch people take hilarious photos all day with this, giant squid. Things to have on our table: small items, non-breakable items, or things you really don't care with if somebody breaks it, walks off with it. So nothing really valuable. Yeah, pick a central theme. So if most of Starla's books are superhero themed, so she had superhero stuff. That would be a good thing. If you have books about angels, you could have feathers. Or if you have stories that are about vampires, you could have little glass vials with food coloring so it looks like blood. So you could just pick small little items, skirts, other things that kind of just make your display look more.
There's also sometimes conventions like Utopia. I know they have a theme every year. This past year was aliens, so a lot of people had different Amy Amy Evans shared a table with another person that we both know, Delphina, and her Delphina's mother had knit or crocheted all of these little alien people, and they had them all over the table. And so
like the little Japanese
people,
one, the little
the
little stuffed one. Yeah.
And so a lot of people had all these alien themes like neon lights and all that. So if the event that you're going to has a theme, sometimes you can jump on that if you don't have one thing yourself, and play up to that as well. I mean, you could dress up like an alien if the theme of the convention was aliens. So.
Yeah, I had
that's a great idea. Actually, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, one of the booths I was across from at one event, they sell props. They literally make props for you to cosplay. And they set up their whole thing like it was like a little woodland store. It had plants going up, fake plants going up the side, and rough wood and all this stuff to kind of get people in the, to feel more like you're at a marketplace in I don't know, some fantasy world as opposed to just walking through a giant, factory style
Right.
convention hall.
Right.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. We didn't
Yeah.
have time to talk about when cosplay goes horribly, horribly wrong. Which is
No. You can look at that online.
right, you have to Google that one. When cosplay goes wrong.
When cosplay goes wrong. But yeah, looks like we're almost done for tonight. I hope you guys all learned something at least somewhat useful to help engage fans. And I hope that at least some of you will rock some cosplay tomorrow or next week for our ultra special costume party.
Yeah, even if you guys don't have, even if you're not dressing up as characters in your book, if you're going out trick-or-treating with the kids and you're dressed up, or you want to share a pic of your kids all dressed up in their costume, next week's a costume party in a lit chat, so have those pictures ready. Come in costume, hang out.
Please send pics.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
I will hopefully have my horns done.
Possibly nerdier than tonight, even. We'll see. I will say, I think our previous most nerdy chat ever was a Star Wars chat. We did a couple, gosh, I don't know when it was, 10 months ago.
I think that was last
14
year.
months ago.
Was that the Shakespeare one?
Yeah, when the Shakespeare Star Wars guy. That was absolutely the nerdiest thing we ever did. Although I think tonight, we're getting close.
Hey, this is actually really light on the nerdy for me, so...
Yeah, that's what
I know. Starla wasn't berating us for our ideas. She's like, oh my god, clearly an amateur. Like, what if you use, like, buttons or something?
Somebody just commented about Doctor Who TARDIS dresses. I'm like, what?
Yeah, somebody mentioned earlier, and I guess we could close with that. Like, what's the most common cosplay thing that you guys see out there? Somebody said Doctor Who is by far the most common cosplay thing.
Yes, Doctor Who is by far, at least in the Bay Area, the most common cosplay, other than maybe My Little Ponies.
Yeah, I will give you that.
They're kind of like neck and neck at most.
Charlotte, what about you? What's the most common cosplay?
Doctor Who is so popular because it's so easy. It's much easier than something like steampunk that requires all these props and corsets and things. Yeah. So I think that's probably one reason that is. I still see a ton of superheroes, especially like Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn's getting real popular, which is awesome. Yeah. I think that's fantastic.
Harley Quinn's probably the...
we need a movie. I don't know, like I assume people from Warner Brothers and whatever listen to this, but if you do listen to this ever in time, I would like a Harley Quinn movie. I'd like a villains, like a...
that request, I would really like a Harley Quinn movie. I'd really like a Black Widow movie, actually. Myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like that more.
I would too, but I think part of that for me is because Scarlett Johansson's like, she brought Black Widow to life so well for me. Like I can see that now. I'm like, oh, she could totally do a movie. Like that'd be easy, like way easy. I think if the right person did Harley, it'd make an easy movie too. But.
Somebody suggested Kristen Bell. Like I've been seeing that rumor going around on different websites and stuff. Kristen Bell for Harley Quinn.
Maybe. I don't know if I've seen her do anything quite that dark, but I mean maybe. I don't know.
Huh.
I'd be willing to give it a shot.
Oh, I'd watch it in a heartbeat.
Heath Ledger was never in anything dark, and then he did a fantastic Joker. So
that's true. I think that's a fair point.
I don't know if I would sell somebody short just because they've only done more light stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah. But we hope to see everyone next week for Costume Party Chat.
Yes, and we'll be talking about ways to basically book marketing beyond the page again next week. Amy's got some good guests lined up, so it'll be a similar theme to this month. Just talking about unique ways you can, get your book and your brand out there. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, good night, everyone.
I was like, I can't.
It was fun.
All right. Thanks, Darla. Good night.